месте, на отсутствии, на этой пустоте, подобной пространству. Возможно, у вас появилась мысль, что «я» находится в уме. Проверьте и эту гипотезу. Ум состоит из частей. Он состоит из моментов прошлого, настоящего, будущего. Анализируйте, в каких именно моментах существует реальное «я». Если вы теряете ощущение плотности, реальности «я», попробуйте вновь его воссоздать. Оно очень важно для нашего исследования, для нашего анализа. Теперь ослабьте вашу концентрацию и в своем темпе завершите медитацию. У нас досточтимый Оливье еще не подключился. Может быть, кто-то хотел бы поделиться, как у вас проходят такие медитации, размышления? Даются они вам сложно? Или... все, мне пишет Настя, что досточтимый уже тут. Давайте передаем ему микрофон, как это сделать. Максим.
Он может тоже говорить, он соорганизатор.
Venerable, good evening. We can see you in a list of participants. Good to see you.
Hi everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
What you saying? Добрый вечер, right?
Yes, very good.
Okay. So I hope everybody had a good week, and everybody had realized emptiness during the week. Maybe just right now, no? When you guys were doing meditation, no? What was the topic?
Yes, we were doing a small meditation about to feel the real I. So the first step with some emotional aspect.
Very good. Okay, that's the most important at the beginning. Most difficult and most important. You have to spend a lot of time on that. Okay. So do we start now? What do you think? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we are going to generate a good motivation. Okay, together. So thinking that we are very fortunate because we are still alive. We are human. We have a precious human rebirth, and we have met the Buddha Dharma and the Mahayana Dharma. So being alive, being a human, and having met the Buddha Dharma, what does that mean? It means that still today, this means that we have a lot of opportunity to create the cause of a vast happiness in the future, and to eliminate the cause of suffering. That's the meaning. Okay, so we have also to think that this situation will not last forever. We will have to die, and therefore we have to think about what's going to happen after this life. And if we look at how we spend our day, our mind works, and also all the action that we have accumulated in the past, then we should be worried about what kind of experience we are going to have in the future. Okay, so we should think: is there any source so to protect? Is there any refuge? Is there something that can protect us in the future from the experience of suffering? And we should see in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha some kind of program. It's like a program that if we applied ourselves, if we start to change our mind and abide, put into practice and abide by this practice, then we can eventually, for sure, we can be protected against suffering in the future. Okay, so do we have a simultaneous translation? Yeah, okay. So in terms of the future experience, we can understand that the mere attainment of a good condition in cyclic existence in the world, in cyclic existence, it's very unsatisfactory, and we have this specious human rebirth, which is considered as one of the highest, one of the high form of existence. And still, you can see that we do not pass beyond suffering, and the suffering is even very coarse. We're not talking about subtle suffering; it's very coarse, and we are subject to impermanence. We have no control over our experience, and therefore we have to understand that it is the mere attainment of worldly happiness. It's unsatisfactory. So we have to raise our level of motivation, understand that the nature of the mind is pure. At the deepest level, we see the nature of the mind is pure, and therefore, if we applied a correct path, we can purify the mind from all the distortion and all the unpurified mental event that create suffering and problems in our daily life. So that's the potential that we have. So that mind can become a source of happiness, and that happiness is unconditioned by situation, by external event. Okay, so this is potential that we have, but still we have to raise our level of motivation and to understand that all sentient beings are exactly in the same situation. We want happiness, we don't want suffering, but because we are confused, we only create the cause of suffering and only experience difficulties and problems in our life. So now that we have obtained this human rebirth, and then we have met the Mahayana Dharma, by applying ourselves, to the past, we can transform this mind, and that mind not only can become a source of happiness for us, but also a source of happiness for all sentient beings, for everybody. We can spontaneously bring peace and happiness with us, and help people, to overcome their difficulties. So that's the potential that we have. This is the state of Buddha. So we should conceptualize in this way. That through our listening, reflecting, and meditation, may I actualize the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. That should be our motivation. Okay, and with this motivation, we're going to read the Heart Sutra together to put the imprints of the meaning of reality. So it should appear on your screen at some point. Yes. Okay, so if someone can start the reading in Russian language, and I will do it in my own language, you know.
Извините, я сразу забыл включить микрофон. «Поклоняясь трем благородным, редким и высшим». Так я слышал однажды. Бхагаван пребывал в Джагрихе на горе Кошана с великой общиной монахов и великой общиной бодхисаттв. В то время Бхагаван погрузился в сосредоточение следующий перечень дхарм, именуемый видимость глубины. И в то же самое время Бодхисаттва Махасаттва Арилактешвара, рассматривая практику глубинной пражни Парамиты, узрел, что и 5 скандх пусты от самобытия. Тогда достопочтенный Шарипутра, побуждаемый силой Будды, обратился к Бодхисаттве Махасаттве Арилактешваре с таким вопросом: если какой-нибудь сын благородной семьи или дочь благородной семьи приступит к практике глубинной пражни Парамиты, как им следует выполнять ее? На это Бодхисаттва Махасаттва Арилактешвара так ответил достопочтенному Шарипутре: Шарипутра, те благородные сыновья и благородные дочери, что желают приступить к практике глубинной пражни Парамиты, должны ясно и безупречно видеть даже 5 скандх пустыми от самобытия. Форма есть пустота, пустота есть форма, нет пустоты помимо формы, и нет формы помимо пустоты. Также пустые ощущения, развлечения, формирующие факторы сознания. Так, Шарипутра, все дхармы есть пустота, не имеют отличительных признаков, не возникают и не исчезают, не загрязнены и нечисты, не ущербны и несовершенны. Поэтому, Шарипутра, в пустоте нет формы, нет ощущений, нет развлечений, нет формирующих факторов и нет сознания. Нет глаза, нет уха, нет носа, нет языка, нет тела, нет ума, нет формы, нет звука, нет запаха, нет вкуса, нет осязаемого, нет дхарм, нет сознания от зрительного до умственного, нет неведения, нет прекращения неведения и далее, вплоть до того, что нет старости и смерти и нет прекращения старости и смерти. Также нет страдания, источника, пресечения пути, нет высшей мудрости, нет достижения, также нет достижения. Поэтому, Шарипутра, поскольку у бодхисаттв нет достижения, они опираются на пражню Парамиту и пребывают в ней. Поскольку в их сознании нет препятствия, нет и страха. Полностью отойдя от превратного, они тем самым достигнут нирваны. Также и все Будды, пребывающие в 3 временах, явственно и всецело достигли полного, непревзойденного, наивысшего просветления, опираясь на глубинную пражню Парамиту. А потому мантра пражня Парамиты, мантра великого знания, несравненная мантра, мантра равна непревзойденному, мантра, полностью успокаивающая все страдания, известна как истина, ибо она безобманна. Мантра пражня Парамиты гласит: Таятха Ом Гате Гате Пара Гате Пара Сам Гате Бодхисваха. Шарипутра, так Бодхисаттвы Махасаттвы должны изучать глубинную пражню Парамиту. Затем Бхагаван, выйдя из самадхи, похвалил Арилактешвару, Бодхисаттву Махасаттву: превосходно, превосходно, о сын благородной семьи, так и есть, так и должно быть. Именно так, как показано тобой, следует практиковать глубинную пражню Парамиту, ибо тогда возрадуются даже Тадхагаты. Когда Бхагаван изрек эти слова, возрадовались достопочтенный Шарипутра и Бодхисаттва Махасаттва Арилактешвара, и все собравшиеся вместе с богами, людьми, асурами и ганхарвами, и все восславили слова Бхагавана. На этом заканчивается Ария Бхагавати Пражня Парамита Хридая Сутра.
Okay, thank you. So now maybe we can recite the refuge together for those who are of this tradition. We can recite the 3 times the refuge together. And for those who are not of this tradition, simply that they can just generate the mind of bodhicitta. Yeah. Sangye jodon zoge jonom lo jonjo bondo done gyabzo ji dange jinzo gyebe zonange androla benje sangye drobo lo sangye jodon zoge jonom lo jonjo bondo done gyabzo ji dange jinzo gyebe zonange androla benje sangye drobo lo sangye jodon zoge jonom lo Sonjo bando dane gyabzo ji dange jinzo gyebe zonange lola benje sangye drobo yo. All right. So last week, what we have seen last week together, we have seen that there were like 3 turning of the wheel, that all of the teachings of the Buddha could be classified in terms of the 3 turning of the wheel of the Four Noble Truths in Deer Park, in Sarnath, near Sarnath, okay? And then we have the wheel of the absence of characteristics in Rajgir, on the Poltur Peak. And then we have the wheel of the correct discrimination, okay, in Vesali. So in terms of the first wheel mainly, and the Buddha, he taught only in relation to the person he had in front of him. Okay? Only in relation to the person he had in front of him. So the first turning of the wheel mainly was intended for the disciple who were inclined toward individual liberation. Okay, in the absence of characteristics, where explicitly the Buddha taught emptiness, and implicitly, or in a hidden way, more or less, more like a hidden way, the stages of the path was intended for the bodhisattva, those who are intent toward the great enlightenment. And the third turning of the wheel of the correct discrimination, where the Buddha taught the three nature, and also he taught the Tathagata Garbha and the potential that everybody has to attain the full enlightenment, was intended for both disciples, and those of the individual vehicle and also of the great vehicle. And then we have seen that the Four Noble Truths, they lay the foundation for all the subsequent teachings of the Buddha, that they are like the pillars of all the teachings are very important. They are all the pillars, of where the four pillars where all the Buddha's teachings stand on. And we have seen that these Four Noble Truths, they are divided into two sets of cause and effect. Okay, they have a contaminated cause and effect, and the purified cause and effect. Okay, so the contaminated cause and effect, through suffering and through origin, they explain how one cycle remained like all one's wander in cyclic existence and experience the suffering. Okay, and the other set, the true path, true cessation and true path, they explain how to emancipate oneself from this wandering and achieve a state of unconditioned happiness. Unconditioned happiness. Okay. So we have seen that this process of cyclic existence is linked to in particular, to the conventional truths. And the first two truths are linked to the conventional truths, and the other two truths are linked to the ultimate truths. So due to being confused in relation to reality, and being confused in relation to reality, this is the real meaning, you see, of conventional truths. If we look at the meaning of conventional truths, actually conventional truth has three meanings. One is conventional, one is interdependent, dependent arising, and the other meaning is a concealer truth. And actually, when we look into the etymology of what we call in English conventional truth, in Tibetan is a kunsab demba, literally means the all concealer truth. So what is the concealer in this context? The concealer is the conception of true existence. You see, so in the face of the conception of true existence, whatever we see is a truth. That is the meaning of conventional truth. We see it's it's not so obvious when we use the term conventional truth. Actually, literally, it means truth for a concealer, truth for ignorance. So due to being caught up, you see, in the truth for ignorance, being confused due to ignorance in relation to the status of phenomena, then the mind, hallucinate, and somehow it hallucinate, and there is the proliferation of mental afflictions, and those mental afflictions that drives one to accomplish action. Those actions are contaminated, and they will result in a future rebirth in cyclic existence and suffering. So this is how, you see, by being caught up in the conventional truth, in truth for a concealer, in the confused engagement on reality, one only experience, you see, endless suffering. Okay, while the other two truths, you see, what we call the ultimate truth, the Dundam Demba. If you look at the etymology of the Dundam Demba, is the object supreme truth. You see, it is the supreme object. Why it is the supreme object? Because it is the mode of abiding. it is the mode, it's not the appearance, you see, it's not like Kunsab Demba, the truth for the concealer, is the mode, the Dondam Demba, ultimate truth, is the mode of abiding of reality, and the mode of abiding of phenomena. All phenomena exist, you see, the mode of abiding. And it is also supreme because it is the exclusive object of the Arya meditative equipoise. See, the Arya is a Sanskrit term that defines the person who directly realize this mode of abiding. So you can divide the world in two types of individual, the ordinary beings and the Arya beings, I mean superior beings, okay, in Sanskrit. And this means that the person who so we are ordinary beings, but the person who has directly realized emptiness becomes a superior, okay? So it is, you see, it is the supreme truth, the ultimate truth, it is supreme truth because it is the exclusive object of the higher thing, you see, the higher thing. And it is true because there is no contradiction between the mode of abidance and the mode of appearance. See, it is completely different than the conventional truth. Conventional truth, it is a truth for the concealer. You see, the truth for a concealer, the truth for ignorance. So only in a perspective of ignorance, this is believed to be true. But there is a contradiction between the mode of appearance and the mode of abidance. You see, this is why we have all of this problem, because we are confused. But the ultimate truth, emptiness, it is a true because there is no difference between the mode of abidance and the mode of existence. Emptiness appears the way it exists. There is no contradiction. There is no dichotomy. So that's for the etymology. Okay. So in terms of we have seen that there is in terms of suffering. We have seen the different types of suffering. We can see that there is 3 types of suffering. We can talk about 3 types of suffering. We can talk about 6 types of general suffering, 8 types of particular suffering that are for the human beings. There's 8 types of suffering, and Asanga also he talked about 108 types of suffering. And also in terms of suffering, he defined, you see what is suffering. He said the true suffering, it is the world and the environment. It is the beings and the environment. So that is what is suffering, you see. The environment and the sentient beings who inhabit this environment, this is the truth of suffering. Okay, so we have to emancipate ourselves from that. And we have seen, so in that the particular order of the Four Noble Truths, it is very important, and it is in the order of not of cause and effect, in the sequence of cause and effect, but it is in the order, they are presented in the order of a clear realization in the continuum of the disciple. Okay, we have seen all of this. What else? And we have seen what we have seen. We have seen that. In particular, in the second turning of the wheel, where the Buddha explicitly he talked about emptiness and the ultimate mode of abiding of phenomena, then true cessation, which were already included in the Four Noble Truths, was fully revealed at that time. See, true cessation and the meaning of emptiness and the ceasing of the defilement was particularly explained in terms of the second turning of the wheel. Why? Because according to the Prasangika system, a true cessation is also an ultimate truth. It is an emptiness of the mind, free from the portion of the object of abandonment. We will go back into that later, don't worry. And then we have seen the third turning of the wheel, where particularly true path was revealed. In particular, true path was revealed. Why? Because the Buddha explaining this Tathagata Garbha, this essence of the Buddha, the potential that everybody has to attain Buddha, and explaining it in terms of the reality of the mind, in terms of the lack of inherent existence of the mind, then this revealed the true path. So it's because You see, our mind is empty of an own nature, that it can be transformed, because it is a dependent arising. It can be transformed, and therefore, you see, a true cessation can be actualized. So this transformation of the mind on the basis of the nature of the mind, this is true path, and the true path is the transformation of the mind. Okay, so this is more or less what we have seen. Okay, together. Okay, so far, because before we move on, is there any questions?
Hello.
Yes.
I think there are two questions from the last session. So I don't know. Do you want to answer it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first question is, do we first understand emptiness and then develop renunciation, or we need to do it simultaneously?
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, so we have to distinguish two types of practitioner. There is the practitioner of sharp faculty, and there is the practitioner of less sharp faculty. Okay, this comes in Abhisamaya-Alankara. You see, we revealed the hidden teaching of the Prajnaparamita, the hidden teachings of the second turning of the wheel. Then everything comes. You see, all of these things are explained. So in terms of the of course, when we talk about in terms of the bodhisattva, we distinguish between two types of practitioner, what we call the follower of reasoning, the follower of dharma, and the follower of faith. Okay, so for example, someone who mainly rely on faith, then he will hear, you see, these teachings on the Buddha potential, these teachings of the qualities of the Buddha, that everybody, can become Buddha, and it is what is this the best thing that one can do in order, you see, to help sentient beings to be separated from suffering. So based on this, you see, moved by the faith into the teachings, into the teacher, then one will start directly, you see, to try to develop great compassion, bodhicitta, enter the Mahayana. Enter the Mahayana. Then there is another type of disciple, which is the one that follow reasoning. Okay, and the one that follow reasoning, you will hear, see, all of these different types of presentation about bodhicitta, about liberation, about the state of Buddha, about emptiness, conventional truths, ultimate truths, and he will analyze. See, he will try to understand. Okay, so there are two truths. There is the presentation of the two truths, conventional truth, ultimate truth. In Buddhism, they say that there is the contradiction between the conventional truth and ultimate, between the mode of appearance and the mode of abidance, so that there is the conception of true existence. So that person will try to analyze, you see, to analyze, and intellectually, conceptually, he will gain that understanding. He will have the experience effectively that there is the contradiction between the mode of abidance and the mode of appearance of phenomena. Based on that, okay, he will understand that, since there is this contradiction, then therefore there is a misconception, there is a distortion of reality, and he will understand that the mind can be corrected. You see, you can apply the antidote, you can develop wisdom and eliminate ignorance. So therefore, he will understand the possibility to actualize liberation instead of Buddha, and only then he will try to develop compassion, bodhicitta, and enter the Mahayana. You see, so if it is the bodhisattva of a sharp faculty, then necessarily emptiness has been realized before entering the path. If it is not of sharp faculty, there is this certainty does not exist. Okay, there is no such certainty. So in terms of the realization, we are, of course, talking about conceptual realization. We're not talking about direct realization, because this is actualized on the path of seeing, and there's a long way to go once one has entered the path. It's still a long way to go. So in terms, the question was in terms of renunciation. Okay, so in terms of for the bodhisattva, you see this the bodhicitta is a bit difficult to posit in terms of the Mahayana practitioner. Someone who has actualized bodhicitta someone who has actualized renunciation and not actualized bodhicitta, because what is renunciation? The renunciation, you see, is this mind of definite emergence. So when I give that answer, I'm talking from the point of view of the spontaneous renunciation. I'm not talking about trying, you see, to understand the suffering nature of cyclic existence, and based on that, generate the determination, you see, to follow the different paths and trainings and developing the different type of wisdom. But if someone, the measure for entering the Hinayana path is the spontaneous mind of definite emergence. And the measure for entering the Bodhisattva path is the spontaneous mind of enlightenment. Therefore, in terms of the Mahayana training, there cannot be a spontaneous mind of definite emergence before spontaneous bodhicitta. Otherwise, that person will enter first the Hinayana path and then after move on to the Bodhisattva path. So that's not the point. That's not what happens. In terms of the Mahayana, they arise simultaneously. Okay, but in terms of the Hinayana path, it has to be generated. Okay, before realizing bodhicitta, before realizing emptiness directly. So I'm not sure. Maybe I confused everything. Okay, so is it clear? No feedback. Not possible. Okay. So the thing is, we have to, in terms of our own experience, in terms of our own practice, our aim is not to enter the individual vehicle, is to enter the Mahayana vehicle. Because ultimately, you see, there is only one vehicle. And even those who actualize the Nirvana, then after they will have to enter the Mahayana path, because as long as you have not achieved the state of Buddhahood, you still remain with some level of obscuration. Therefore, it is better to enter the Mahayana right from the beginning, because otherwise your path becomes much longer. For example, right now, I mean, once you have entered the path, to attain the state of Buddha, according to the sutra, it takes 3 countless eons, okay, 3 great eons. The state of liberation can be actualized very quickly because there is no great quality, not the training of the 6th perfection has not to be taken place, and also you don't have to eliminate the knowledge obscuration. So just the knowledge of the affliction to liberation. Therefore, it can be actualized quite quickly. But the problem is once you actualize liberation, then from your own side, there is interruption of the benefit you can give to others for a long period of time. There is interruption. The benefiting other from your side is interrupted for a long period of time because you enter into this, you absorb yourself into this, this compositional factor, which is the sphere of cessation, and the mind abide there for a very long time. And once you get like activated again by the Buddha, and they explained you that you have to continue your path and everything, then you have to generate bodhicitta. You have to generate bodhicitta, enter the bodhisattva path of accumulation, preparation, vision, meditation, and you have to train into the whole perfection. And they say in the text, it does not take you 3 countless eons, it takes you 20, 40 countless eons, even though you have no afflictive liberation already. This is because of the propension that you have developed, you see, to abide in your own peace. Due to that, see, it becomes a great obstacle after to practice the 6th perfection for you. So it's better right from the beginning, you see, to reflect on the suffering nature of cyclic existence, because it is necessary, you see, to have this understanding to be able to carry on, see, to carry on, and also to develop great compassion, the bodhicitta, the correct view, and to enter, you see, the Mahayana path. You see, all the three has to be trained. Now, in terms of the spontaneous generation of bodhicitta, the great compassion, that great compassion in the Mahayana is a particular type of compassion, which is because it is the desire, you see, to free others from suffering. So the suffering has to be identified clearly, and it is something that you have to realize in your own continuum as well. Because if you don't have a good understanding of your own suffering, and if you do not for yourself wish to be free from the suffering of cyclic existence, it is impossible that you have this spontaneous or this real, authentic wish for other. It's impossible. Therefore, first, you have to realize the suffering, the origin of suffering for your own continuum, generate this strong desire, you see, to be free from that. And on that base, you see, you apply your understanding to others. You realize that all sentient beings are also, you see, experimenting the same suffering than you are, even worse. And therefore, on that base, you develop a great compassion and the wish to actualize the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is, you have to adjust your training. You see, you have to adjust your training. Yeah. I hope it is clear now. There is another question?
Yes, there is one more question. What is a clear light mind? Is it some deep level of mental consciousness? The clear light, is it the same as a direct experience of emptiness?
Okay, so this comes in the Tantra. Okay, because in the sutra we do not talk about, in terms when we study the mind, we study only the epistemology with the way you experience your reality, and you also study there is a psychology aspect, you see, the mental factor and everything. But the clear light mind, this presentation of the mind belongs to the Tantra set of teachings. So the Tantra is part of the Mahayana. See, is a second aspect of the Mahayana. The Mahayana is divided into two paths. We call it the path of the perfection, which is the sutra path, and the path of Tantra. So you can practice the sutra path without the Tantra path, but it's impossible to practice the Tantra without the sutra. And the person must be trained in the path of the perfection, in a sutra path, before to engage oneself in the path of Tantra. And in the Tantra, there is the presentation of the mind and in terms of a coarse, subtle, and very subtle mind. So the most subtle mind is this mind of clear light. Okay, this mind of clear light become manifest, and the real mind become manifest at the time of death. It is the most stable state of mind that we have, because it is on the basis of that mind that one goes to one life to another. Okay, all the other consciousnesses, you see, that we have now, they dissolve, but only the clear light mind, you see, remains. So it is we can say it is our final basis of imputation. You see, the final basis of imputation for the beings in terms of Tantra is the clear light mind. It is the stable mind, because it's the one that goes from one life to another. So in terms of the Tantra path, you see, the Tantra path, what is the essence of the Tantra path is to manifest this clear light mind to realize emptiness. To realize emptiness, because the mind that we use on the sutra path, which is the union of calm abiding or special insight, or the other concentration, first, second, third, and fourth concentration, is considered a coarse mind compared to the mind of clear light. And due to using this very subtle type of mind to understand emptiness, then the process of elimination of the obscuration is faster. And so that's the point. So in terms of the clear light, you can distinguish also an objective clear light and a subjective clear light. The subjective clear light is the clear light mind And the objective clear light is the emptiness, which is realized by that clear light mind. Okay, you can talk about it in this way. So this is in the Geluk, you see, this is the presentation. In Enigma, they have a different, slightly different presentation because they say that those two are indivisible. But yeah, but I don't know much about this presentation. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, that was the last question. So.
People are satisfied with the answers. Okay, so yeah, before to move on, I wanted to suggest some readings for you if you want to know more about emptiness. Okay, of course, I mean, I'm not sure that those books are translated into Russian, but maybe you can check. Okay, so there is one book by His Holiness Dalai Lama. It's called The Middle Way. Okay, is the Middle Way is an explanation of 4 chapters from the treatise on the Middle Way of Nagarjuna. Okay, it's so this is a good book, and you have also another book. It's called Tsongkhapa's Final Exposition on Wisdom, where it is the translation of the section of special insights from the middle Lamrim. Lama Tsongkhapa composed 3 Lamrim: the Lamrim Shenmo, the Lamrim Jiwa, and the Lamrim which is called the Song of Experience, which is like 60 or 45, 50 stanza, I don't remember exactly. So the problem with the special insight of the Lamrim Shenmo, it is very vast, very complicated, and it requires a lot of background in philosophy to be able to really like to understand and study it and to really like benefit from it. So in the Lamrim Jingwa, the intermediate Lamrim, there is also this special insights section, which is require less background in philosophy, and it is like a little bit shorter. So it is also part of the. I think you have the basic program. I don't know in the FPMT in Russia, I imagine. So you probably have this translation, maybe. Okay. And the other book that I suggest is called Meditation on Emptiness by Jeffrey Hopkins. Okay, so it is like aggregation, a collection of information, teachings, and commentary. It was his thesis of study, and it is an incredible book because yeah, there's so many information inside. And they're really, yeah, and in terms of emptiness, you have all different types of reasoning explained in detail. So it's very useful. So this is like 3 books. You have to check if they exist in Russian. Okay, that would be very good to, if you're interested in emptiness, to deepen your understanding. Okay? And of course, at another level, then if you have the possibility to study the Madhyamika Avatara of Chandrakirti, that would be the best. Okay, that would be the best. Okay. So this is where we are. Okay, so now I wanted to say something before. Yeah. So in this section again today, we are going to lay some basis and some foundation to be able to start our analysis. Okay, the analysis we start we'll start next week, and we'll have like a 3 session dedicated only to analysis. But before, you see, we need to lay some ground, some foundation. Otherwise, there will be a little benefit, little understanding will emerge, you see, from this. So, as we said last time, the scope is to be happy, to find happiness. Okay, everything that we do in life, every choice that we made is to find a certain level of happiness. We engage into a particular study, we engage into a particular way of life, we make choice. You see, even as we said last time, even the way the hairdo, you see, even the way you dress yourself, in the way you arrange your hair, okay, or the color of your glasses that you choose, you see, it's because you think that in this way you'd be happier. So you'd be happier. So everything that we do moved into that direction, you see, of finding a greater and greater happiness. But in our situation, what we do, we only rely on external situation, exclusively on external situation. Now, so in particular, you see on the sense object, So we have like a 5 sense consciousness, and we seek happiness through the contact with the pleasant object that correspond to those various consciousnesses. So we have like a visual consciousness, auditory consciousness, olfactive consciousness, gustatory consciousness, and tactile consciousness. And through those 5 consciousnesses, we try to find happiness in life. That's it. For us, more or less, that's it. Okay. So the problem is that we have also a mental consciousness, or the solution, that we have also a mental consciousness. So so how does it work? You see, how does it work? How the mind works? So the mind, we have explained last week, is divided into the main mind and mental factors. The main mind is the main sense consciousness. It apprehends the entity of the object. For example, the eye consciousness, the visual consciousness will only will apprehend the entity of an object, which is the shape or color, and then it is accompanied by a mental factor, different mental factor. They have different functions, they have different groups, and they will engage the particularity of the object. See, they engage the particularity. Among this mental factor, you have a group, it's called the omnipresent mental factor, and one of these is very important, is feeling. Okay, so feeling, it is an omnipresent mental factor. It means that does not exist an instant of mind which is not accompanied by feeling. Does not exist. If there is an instant of mind, even 1/65 of this, there is a feeling. Okay, so like this, there is 65 instant of consciousness. There is 65 feelings, one after the other. So you see, you will have a feeling in the retinue of the visual consciousness, you will have a feeling in the retinue of the auditory consciousness, you will have a feeling in the retinue of the olfactory consciousness, you will have a feeling in the retinue of the gustatory consciousness, and you will also have a feeling in the retinue of the tactile consciousness. Okay? And this feeling, so you have like 5 types of feeling, okay? And the feeling is of 3 types. It can be a feeling of pleasure, of happiness, neutral, or suffering feeling. See, so when you meet an object, when your consciousness, contact an object, there is a feeling. If the object is discriminated as pleasant, you see, then there is the happiness feeling. If the object is not discriminated as pleasant, there is a suffering feeling, and otherwise there is a neutral feeling. So for us, you see, we are in this the coarser level of psychic existence, which is called the desire realm. Why it is called the desire realm? Simply because, you see, our consciousness, they are respectively, they long for the respective object. They long for they seek their respective, the contact. They are obsessed with the contact of the respective object. So this is how we try to find happiness. So we always try to put ourselves in a contact with objects, situation, people, whatever, that produce this happiness feeling. And we always try to get away from object, people, situation that produce a suffering feeling. Okay. So the problem is that we also, or the situation, as I said, we also have a mental consciousness. So we have a 6th consciousness, 6th consciousness, the mental consciousness. And the mental consciousness also, you see, has feeling. It is the mind. And in the retinue of the mental consciousness, there is also the feeling. And that feeling is also of 3 types. So the problem is that the mental consciousness, you see, is much more powerful than the sense consciousness. Much more powerful. So even though it is the mental consciousness or the conceptual mind is the conceptual mind, you see, is the type of mental consciousness. It's just a type. So that the mental consciousness is able to produce its own happiness and its own suffering independently of the quality of the experience of the sense consciousness. That's a big problem or a big solution. You see, you understand what I mean? You see, so even though you try to put yourself in contact with pleasant situation, you see, you have maybe some of the right partner, the right job or whatever, you know, nevertheless, you wake up in the morning and there's something wrong. You see, you're unhappy, you're unsatisfied. Why? Just because your mental consciousness is able to produce his own suffering or its own happiness independent of the quality of the contact. So this means that even though everything goes externally okay, you see in your life, nevertheless you're unhappy. Or the opposite, even though you see things are not great in your life externally, nevertheless you're able to remain happy inside of your mind. See, so that's the power of the mental consciousness. So you see, whatever you do, whatever we try, all this energy that we put, so only to try to fix external things. You know, from the morning, from when we wake up in the morning until the evening, we only try to fix external things. See, only try to fix external thing. And in this way, we have to understand that in this way, we will never be happy. It's just impossible because our mental consciousness does not let us. It is completely untrained and it is full of bad habits. So you see, it is very important to start to be in tune with your own thought process. It's very important to start to live more in introspection, to try to understand what is the nature of my thought all day, what is the nature of my experience, of my emotions, of my feelings. You see, to assess the extent of the damage. You see, to size up the problem. Because as long as we do not enter in contact with this, somehow we do not realize it, you see, and you always think that the source of your problem is external, is due to others, because others, they don't treat you well, or others, they don't give you the feedback you're expecting, you see. So it's always outside. And you spend a whole life like this, see, without touching, you know, the real problem, which is our own mental soul, our own mental process. So in terms of happiness, you see, in terms of the pacification of the mind, you can distinguish 3 levels of pacification of the mind. You can, and those levels of pacification of the mind, they are produced by what we call the 3 higher training. There is the higher training in ethic, there is the higher training in concentration, and there is the higher training in wisdom. So the training in ethic, it will, due to abiding, you see, in an ethical way of life. And by ethical way of life, I don't mean only, you see, not hurting people with your speech and your action, but also try not to generate aversion toward people and, you know, these kind of things. So you will start to pacify a certain level of mind by not tolerating, you see, certain types of behavior motivated by certain types of course, affliction. You will somehow slowly pacify that coarse level of affliction. Then on the basis of that, there is the higher training in concentration that will pacify a subtler level of affliction by making them non-manifest. You see, when you have the higher training in concentration, your affliction are not manifest. Anger is not manifest, and aversion is not manifest, attachment is not manifest, pride is not manifest, because it's blocked by this a deeper level of pacification of the mind that you have produced through your training in concentration. And then finally, due to the highest training in wisdom, where you understand the reality, you will uproot the affliction from your mind. Not only the manifest form of the affliction will be eliminated, but also the potential, the propensity, you see, the latency of the affliction is uprooted from your mind. And what's left is the cessation, which is the sphere of pacification. So now to go back to you see, the mind. It is very important to, and I'm just doing like basic psychology here. Of course, this is extracted from the Buddhist perspective of the mind, but it is very clear. You see, even though we are not thinking about the happiness of the future rebirth or the liberation or the state of Buddhahood, I'm just, even if you want to be happier in this life, you see, right now, you have to control your mind. It is necessary to control your mind. By controlling your mind, I mean your conceptual mind. The conceptual mind is always active, is always present. You see, there is even right now in your head behind, there is this gossip going on. It is always there. So it is important for you, you see, to enter into contact with that and to understand the nature of this chit-chat going on. And usually for us is always some kind of nagging mind, you know, he's not happy about this, he's not happy about that, and look at this one, and look at that, all day from the morning until the evening. This is what we have in our mind, you see. We're always critical about others, we're always critical about our situation, we're always critical about ourselves as well. So in this frame, you see, in this mental frame, this mental, it is impossible to be happy. There's no way. Even though you see you have externally all the situation that you wish, see all the condition that you wish. Nevertheless, as long as you don't care about this type of thinking, you see, the way you think, you will never be happy. You always be like a little bit bitter inside, you see, unsatisfied and bitter. And this is only due to this train of thought that we have all day and that we leave untouched. We are not even aware of it. For most of us, we are not even aware of it. So it is very important, you see, to start to understand that and to get in touch with the very fabric of our mind. That's the very fabric of our mind. And we have to start to work on that before to think about the bodhicitta and all these kind of things. You know, we have to correct this train of thought. And I say in general for us, you see, because all our problems, they derive from that. We are always, having like a negative. It's this negative, nagging mind. This is always unsatisfied about something, about someone, or about oneself. You see, so the conceptual mind is not different in terms of his like superficial characteristics from the other mind. Is also accompanied by mental factor, and it is also accompanied by feeling. So every instant of conceptual thought, of conceptual mind, is also accompanied by the same number of feeling. So if if your train of thought is negative, then the feeling which experience, the concept, will be also an unpleasant feeling. But if you have positive thought, if you like shade, you just decide to shade a good light on people. You shed the good light on yourself, on your situation, on your potential, then automatically, that very feeling will experience a pleasant concept. And therefore, it will be, a happiness feeling, will be a happiness feeling. So in this way, you gain, you see, you gain independence in terms of your own happiness. You gain independence from external condition. External condition, you will never be able to fix external condition. It's impossible because they're not under your own power. You cannot control people. You cannot control all the event in your life. You see, we are in the end of karma. So the karma ripen, and we experience suffering or happiness as the karma ripen in terms of external situation. But what you can do, slowly, you can take the control of your mind, and you can decide to think differently. And by thinking differently, you will experience a different state of mind. So you see, if we have created this habit, at least in this life, you see, we have created this habit. Our mind functions in a certain way, and most of the time, you see, is very critical. Is always criticizing others. When you go to the Dharma center, you see, you look at others. Oh, this one is not behaving properly. Or this one is not doing this. Or this one is, look at this one. How it is dressed. Or this one is a strange haircut, and all of these kind of things you see all day. So if you spend one day like this, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, you spend one life like this, an entire life thinking, you see, negatively. You're not even conscious of it. It's just a pattern that you have developed. So somehow, you see, it is clear because you see, this is an appearance. This is that world arises as an appearance that you have decided to allow on your mind, by engaging, by letting certain mental factor to engage certain characteristics of your environment, then a certain picture of this environment will arise to your mind. And because due to the quality of the mental factor and your conceptualization, that appearance will be pleasant or unpleasant, but you will spend all your life into this unpleasant appearance, you see, just because you have let that arise to your mind. So somehow you are responsible for that, okay? So I don't know if it came out clearly, but what I mean is you have this glass of water, you see, and you can decide to see the glass of water half full or half empty. It's just your mind. So if you decide, you see, to look at the glass half empty, then you'll be always unhappy. But that's you who have this, that's you who have let your mind, you see, you have let your mind, you have let that appearance to arise to your mind because you have engaged the object in a particular way. But you can engage the same object in a different way, and you can see the glass as full, half full, you see? And that concept is very different. And also, therefore, the experience of that concept will create a different experience in your mind and in yourself as well, you see? So this is very basic psychology. So before, you see, this is why it is very important to start to abide in introspection. Introspection is very important. First, because without introspection, there would be no success in meditation, but also because if you don't abide in introspection, you will not be able to correct your mind. And what is the heart? The heart of the Dharma practice is to correct the mind. The basis of the practice is the mind. The practice itself, you see, the practice itself is a certain type of mind that you have to apply to eliminate other type of mind. So you see, the basis is the mind, the path is the mind, and the result is the certain type of mind that you want to actualize, a mind in which suffering do not exist anymore, a mind which does not produce the experience of suffering. So you see, the mind is at the heart of everything. Therefore, it is important to start to be interested in the mind, to start to observe the mind, and to take care of the mind. And to take care of the mind means that, you see, you have to recognize what type of attitude produce suffering, and what type of attitude produce happiness. And you have to eliminate the attitude that produce suffering and promote, to increase the type of attitude that promote happiness. So that's the essence of the practice. You see, Dhamma practice is like a tuning. You always try to tune the mind on the right frequency. You see, that's what Dhamma practice is about. There's nothing else. Nothing else. Is to take care of your mind, because in Buddhism, the source of happiness or the source of suffering is traced back into the mind. The suffering and the happiness do not depend on external situation, but how you interact with this external situation. External situation does not depend on external situation, but how you interact with this external situation. So in the same event, you can act as you've been always acting, and being confused, you see, and let your mind wild and start to think about anything, you know, and it will produce an happiness. Or you can start to think differently. Think differently means to look at people differently, to look at the situation differently, to look at yourself and your life and your own situation differently. Okay, so in brief, you have to be positive. Okay, it seems to be cheesy, but actually it's how it works, you see. And so this is the very basics. This is how to improve your experience in this life, okay? The Dhamma practice, this is not even Dhamma practice, you see. This is not even Dhamma practice, because Dhamma practice starts when you think about something that goes beyond this life. So you can use Buddhism, you see, to be happy in this life. And I think you should, because, and you don't have to become Buddhist for that, but there's so many tools, you see, so many tools inside of Buddhism to improve your happiness, to correct your mind, and to improve the quality, to reduce the stress, to improve your concentration, you know, to improve your quality of altruism and compassion, which promote greatly happiness. We will see that also, hopefully. And but you see, so you don't have to be Buddhist for that, you know, it just makes sense. See, somehow it makes sense. I mean, I hope it makes sense. But the Dhamma practice, you see, the Dhamma, what we call the Dhamma practice, it goes beyond this life. It starts when your preoccupation goes beyond this life. So this takes time. It takes time. It's not immediate. Okay, it's not. It requires a lot of thinking and understanding to have the mind, you see, that disengage the appearance of this life and start to think about something that goes beyond this life, liberation of or the state of Buddha. It takes a lot of thinking and understanding. Okay? So slowly. So right now, you see, we want to be happy, and to be happy, it is necessary to control the mind. And to control the mind, you have like 3 levels. You see, you have 3 training: the higher training in ethic, concentration, and wisdom. And the practice, you see, of controlling your mind, not letting the mind think negatively about others and everything, this is part of ethic. So now, if you look, you see the mental affliction. Mental affliction, we can distinguish, we can talk about 6 mental afflictions, or 6 root afflictions, or 10 root affliction, and then there is also 20 secondary root affliction. Basically, what is the definition of an affliction? It is a distorted state of mind, but its function is to disturb the continuum of consciousness. That it is function is to disturb the mind. So you're there, you see, relax and everything, and as soon as an affliction arises in your mind, you get disturbed. So that's the problem. We have to recognize that. So in terms of the mental affliction, we can distinguish, you see, ignorance, attachment, aversion, pride, doubt, an afflicted view. So that's the sixth root affliction. And if we open up the sixth one, you see, if we open up afflicted view, then we have five. We have the view of the transitory collection. You have the view holding to an extreme. You have the view holding bad views as supreme. You have the view holding, you see, a wrong morality and wrong conduct as supreme. And you have the wrong views, okay? So you have, in this way, 10 root afflictions. They become 10 root afflictions. You have 5 views and 5 non-views. This is also the way we call them. So you have to understand that as soon as a mental affliction arises, the mind gets disturbed. So mind gets disturbed. For example, aversion. Aversion is quite clear that as soon as aversion arises in the mind, you're suffering. It is aversion is itself is unbearable. It was quite clear. You have also to understand, you know, that it is the same for belligerence, resentment, for a pride. Pride also is a source of so much suffering. Pride is so much suffering. Attachment is the one, you see, it is a bit tricky. It requires more thinking, more understanding to understand really more probing to understand how attachment, it creates suffering. Right now, attachment seems to be a good friend. Because contrary to the other mental affliction, like aversion, etc., when they arise, they are concomitant with a suffering feeling. You see, when aversion arises, it is concomitant with suffering feeling. So the first thing is, you don't want to suffer, you have already to eliminate one mental affliction, which is aversion. Already one. Right? And for attachment, instead of attachment, when it arises, it is concomitant with the happiness feeling. So see, so that's why it is much more difficult to abandon attachment than aversion. Aversion is very, very easy to abandon. In terms of attachment, it requires, you see, deeper understanding. You have to analyze deeper to understand how attachment makes you suffer in life. And if you're very careful, you will see that the greatest suffering that you have experienced in your life, they are not due to aversion, they are due to attachment. It is due to attachment that you have experienced the deepest suffering in your life. We have to understand that all of this mental affliction, you see, the 6 that we have mentioned are the 10 and then the 20 secondary. To exist, they need a certain ground, they need a certain condition. And that condition or that base to exist is the conception of true existence. Because you conceive, because we are confused with respect to reality, then the mental affliction arises in our mind as an answer to that mode of conception of the world, to that mode of conception. So you see something or someone, you see, you have the conception of true existence. So that person is right away conceived to be inherently existent, and due to predisposition, you see, due to karma, that person can look, you see, can appear to your mind as appealing or as non-appealing, see, and subsequently to that, there is what we call the inappropriate mental attention. So the inappropriate mental attention, we are doing this all day, basically all day. It is a type of analytical mind. You see, it's a type of meditation, except that it's not really a meditation because meditation is necessarily with a virtue subject. So it's a type of analytical mind that abides in the attribute of the object. So if it is a pleasant object, then the mind will always be involved into the pleasant attribute of the, oh, it is like this, it is like that, such quality, oh, that's great, you know, oh, like this, blah, 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 all the time. And it has the function, so the function of the inappropriate mental attention is to trigger attachment. So attachment will arise, and the attachment will observe, you see, because attachment is the mind, it will observe a inherently pleasant object. Inherently pleasant object. Pleasant person. Okay, the person is also an object of the mind. So the attachment, it is a distortion of reality because it makes things bigger. You see, you blow up things out of proportions. So attachment will, because of the inappropriate mental attention, only focus on all of these qualities that you have superimposed. You see, that you become obsessed with all of this quality. So attachment will not see the defect of the object, will only see the good side, and attachment can be also so strong that the defect can also appear as qualities. So that's our attachment, it's completely distorted. So it hides the defect, and also the qualities. The defect can appear as qualities. So you see, that's how attachment works. And when you think about the object, and when you think about the person, you see, you're not engaging the objective reality of that person. You are engaging your own obsession. When you think about that person, about that object, you think about all the things, you see, that you are like elaborating all day. This is what comes when you see, and the person is, because the conceptual mind, you see, it works like this. The concept is mixed with the person. When you see the person, you see all your concept, which are completely mingled with that person, like water and milk. So the problem is that, let's say that your karma works well, and you can eventually, you see, obtain the object of your desire, of your attachment. Slowly, you will confront it to reality. Remember, if attachment is like living at fantasy land. You see, you're living at fantasy land. You see, you are the president of fantasy land. So when you have this object, then slowly, you will be confronted to reality. It's like this. I haven't seen that before. Say, it's like that. It's like that. It's like that. And then slowly, you see, attachment decrease. Yeah? And eventually, you see, aversion arise. It doesn't treat me well. He's not thinking of me, blah, 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 blah. He does this, he does that. You see, so aversion start to arise. And of course, aversion arise. Why? Because the object is conceived as being inherently existent, okay? And there is an inappropriate mental attention that goes into the defect, see? So you start to conceptualize negatively, attachment arise. Attachment, you see, is a distortion of reality. So it will blow up things out of proportion. It will hide the quality, and the quality can eventually appear as defect now at your eyes, see? And and at some point, you see, if you do not strangle that person during his or her sleep, then in the best way, you see, there is the separation, and then the mind bounces again on something else. You see, it bounces again on something else. So because the mind, that's the only frame of work of the mind. You see, is a creature of habit. So the mind has been accustomed to work in this way. So it will work in this way always, unless we do not put another program somehow, another program. Okay? So you will meet someone else again. That person, is attachment, inappropriate mental attention, then attachment, then again, you see, it is endless. Okay. So this is why, you see, if you base your own happiness on a distortion of reality, cannot work. Cannot work. Because you live at fantasy land. At some point, you will be caught by reality. You will be caught by reality. You see, reality will come and knock on your door. So I'm not saying that you should not live with you should stay by yourself. Or I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to be coherent. Don't put your own happiness into the hand of someone else. It can be pleasant to live with someone, okay, but don't build up, you see, a fantasy about it, okay, because you will be disappointed anyway. So if you think, you see, if you think that someone else was ignorance, who become old, was ignorance, was jealousy, was envy, was attachment, was aversion, was resentment, with selfish can make you happy, you have a big distortion of reality. Seriously. It is not possible that such person make you happy. So as I say, see, I'm not saying that you should quit your partner or whatever. I'm just saying, you know, this take things for what they are, not for what they are not. That's so you see. So the more you distance yourself from reality, and what I mean by reality, I don't mean the ultimate mode of abiding of phenomena. You know, I'm just talking about the conventional reality, the conventional characteristics. You see, that things are impermanent, that contaminated phenomena are suffering. You see, I'm just talking about those basic characteristics. So the more, in general, the more you distance yourself from reality, so the more the distortion is important, the more you will suffer. The more you will suffer, and the more you're in tune with reality, the more you know that things are impermanent. The more that you know that, you see, even in terms of the conventional attribute, the more you're in tune with reality, the more your mind is pacified and serene. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. So it is very important, you see, to contemplate the Four Noble Truths, because the Four Noble Truths, they are antidote to the four main conceptions that, due to the presence in the mind, we cannot be happy, even in this life. So we have the conception, we superimpose, you see, we superimpose permanence, where actually it is by nature impermanent. We think that our relations are permanent. We think that people are permanent, that everything is permanent, the situation, our life, everything is permanent. And we never reflect on the impermanent nature of things. Of course, we know intellectually, this is impermanent. But the way we engage things, you see, in a non-analytical and spontaneous manner, is as everything would be permanent. Everything is permanent. So every time that we are, you see, confronted to the impermanence nature of reality, then we suffer. We are surprised, and we suffer. You see, we suffer. We don't understand. Blah, 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 why me? Blah, blah, blah. But actually, it's just the nature. You see, so it's like the more you get high, when you fall, the more you hurt yourself. So the more you distant from reality, every time that you're going to face reality, the impact will be painful. Will be painful. So this is why it is important, you see, to cultivate this understanding, you know, that things are impermanent, because when it comes to you, you're not surprised. It's the nature of things, you know, you're stable. So you see, the mind, actually, our mind right now, even though it is very hard, you see, it's very hard. It is actually extremely fragile, because it exclusively depend on external things, you see, to be happy or not to be happy. So if something changes externally, then we become unhappy. If we hear something unpleasant, I mean, come on, if we hear something unpleasant, a mere vibration of wind, you see, it's a vibration, then we become extremely unhappy. You see, so in this situation, you see, being happy is very difficult. So it's important, we have to start to train our mind, and we have to change our way of thinking, okay? And we have to slowly develop also, so that we have to abide in a more ethical way of life, see, in terms of a way we think about others, what we tolerate in our mind. See, what we tolerate in our mind is absolutely outrageous in terms of like way of thinking about others and everything. And so we have to become more ethical. And we slowly we have to develop concentration to even more pacify, you see, this mind, and also because we need concentration to create deep changing in your mind. If we don't have concentration, it will be very difficult to penetrate the nature, you see, of reality. And then there is the higher training in wisdom. Okay, so under higher training in wisdom, this is what we are trying to generate right now. Okay. Is there any questions?
Yeah, there are two questions. So the first question is, do I get it right that there are 6 types of perceptions that match 6 types of consciousness?
I'm sorry, what's the question? I didn't really understood.
So do I get it right that there are 6 types of perceptions that match 6 types of consciousness?
There is there is 6 types of consciousness because there is 6 types of objects. Yeah. You see that the consciousness arise due to the coming together of different cause and conditions. So you need what we call the empowering condition, which is the sense power. So the sense power has to work. Then you need an observe object condition, and you need the immediately preceding condition, which is an instant of clarity, okay, that empowers the mind into a clear entity. So when those 3 conditions, you see, gather together, then you can have, according to the condition, according to the empowering condition or according to the observed object condition, a visual consciousness, an auditory consciousness, olfactory consciousness, etc., etc. Yeah. So yeah, there is 6 types of consciousness because there is 6 types of object. There is also the objects of the mind. What are the objects of the mind? Where they are concepts, for example, they are permanent phenomena. Permanent phenomena are objects that only the mind can perceive. You see, the sense consciousness cannot perceive permanent phenomena. The sense consciousness can only perceive what we call the specifically characterized phenomena, which are impermanent phenomena. So, for example, if I talk about the uncompounded space, you see, uncompounded space, I'm not talking about space, you see, like the galaxy, and it's not that space, okay? The uncompounded space, it is the absence of obstructive contact. You see here, there is absence of obstructive contact. Here, there is obstructive contact, here not. So that space, which is the uncompounded space, which is defined as the absence of obstructive contact, is a negative phenomena. Okay, exactly, it is a non-affirming negative. What does that mean? It means that uncompounded space or absence of obstructive contact can appear to the mind only through a negation route. You have to negate obstructive contact to understand what is the absence of obstructive contact is. And this cannot be done by sense consciousness. This only can be done by mental consciousness. Emptiness, for example, emptiness also is a non-affirming negative. Yeah? So in terms of negation, you have 2 types of negation. You have affirming negative and non-affirming negative. So affirming negative is by negating something, I imply something else. For example, the big George doesn't eat during the night, or doesn't eat during the day. The big George doesn't eat during the day. So what I'm implying, since it's big, that is eating at night, you see. So this is an affirming negation. Affirming negation. I'm negating something, but I also implying something. Emptiness is not like this. Emptiness or uncompounded space is a non-affirming negation. I'm negating something without implying anything else behind. Absence of inherent existence, emptiness of inherent existence, absence of obstructive contact. You see, those are mere negation. They are non-affirming negation. And this is only something can be realized by mental consciousness, not by eye consciousness, not by sense consciousness. Okay? I'm not sure I'm helping you, but
there is the next question. Somebody would like to talk, to speak. So anyway, so it's Dinara, yeah.
Да, здравствуйте. Меня слышно?
Да, слышно.
У меня вот такой вопрос. Мы говорили о том, что у нас есть восприятие через органы чувств, которое идет постоянно, и есть наше концептуальное восприятие, и что наше восприятие через органы чувств зависит от наших концептов. Ну, то есть в том случае, когда мы говорим...
Динара, можно я буду переводить параллельно, а то я забуду вначале?
Конечно, конечно.
Можно еще раз первую фразу, хорошо?
У нас есть чувственное восприятие, которое все время присутствует и может быть нейтральным, отрицательным или позитивным. И у нас есть концептуальное восприятие, которое эти органы чувств выбирает, какое будет восприятие.
So the question, the first part is, because I'll translate parallel. So the first part is, so we have this perception from our sense organs that we kind of have all the time. And then we have some conceptual consciousness that would basically choose what to perceive. Динара, продолжай, то я не очень понимаю, что я перевожу.
Yeah, how to interpret, okay? How to interpret. It's like as I said before, you see, the glass is half full or half empty. Like people, for example, everybody has defect and qualities, but you can decide to focus only on the defect of people, and it will make your life miserable.
Вот продолжение вопроса. То есть в тех случаях, когда у нас нет такого явного страдания, то есть когда человек не болеет, не находится в тюрьме или не испытывает каких-то очень сильных явных страданий, мы можем выбрать. То есть я могу не переживать по поводу того, что у меня мой стакан наполовину полон или пуст. А в том случае, когда человек сидит в тюрьме или сильно болеет от какого-то, там, не знаю, от рака, то есть как в данной ситуации он может повлиять, когда чувства, они, в принципе, достаточно сильные.
Okay. So the question, the kind of the main question is, so when we don't have some obvious sufferings, we can choose, what to feel basically. But if we do have very obvious sufferings, like somebody staying in jail, or somebody has cancer and has lots of pain, etc., how can this person actually choose what to feel, because the sufferings are so great, so just...
So yeah, clearly I'm not saying that because you changed your mind, you see, you will not experience suffering anymore. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that 80% of the suffering that you experience is due to your mind. Okay, you had a lot of suffering, you see, for example, there is a problem. Okay, there is an external problem. So you mentioned, for example, a health problem. Yeah. So there is this health issue, and you see, if you over-conceptualize on it, then there is a physical pain But on the top, you will add also the mental pain, the mental suffering. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So why? You see, you can have this physical pain, but if you direct your mind in a certain way, you see, if you direct your thought in a certain way, then you can maintain a happy state of mind, even so at the physical level, you see, there is a suffering feeling eventually. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not saying that you will eliminate the suffering, you see. At that level is not possible, and not, but at least you don't, at the very least, let's say, let's be simple, at the very least, you don't add suffering with your mind. You not add suffering in your mind. For example, if there is a problem, even the slightest problem, because we have like so much self-cherishing, then every time that our desire is blocked, or wish, you see, there is an obstacle to our wish, then we are extremely unsatisfied, you see, and then you see the mind goes on and goes on and goes on, you see. So that's what I'm talking about. So this is completely unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering. So you have to think, but you have to look for yourself. And this is something, you know, you have to look for yourself. This is you have to have this valid cognition. So you have to have this valid cognition. You have to enter into contact with your own mind and see how it works. And you have to understand what kind of damage, what kind of feeling you add, what kind of it's like how do you say, you know, strats, you know, like layers. What kind of layers of suffering you add with your mind, or what kind of layers of suffering you can eliminate with your mind. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So for this, you have to realize that by yourself. You see, in Buddhism, the most important is the valid cognition. Valid cognition is of two types. You see, you have the direct valid cognition and you have the inferential valid cognition, which is the conceptual mind, which is based on reason. So all the other type of mind, see, they do not realize that they are non-cognition. And this is also something very important for us, because in terms of Buddhism, we can study or read books, you see, for 20, 30 years. Nevertheless, our mind doesn't change. It's also possible. It's very, very, very common. Very common. So why? Why? Because we have never passed in the realm of the valid cognition. There is seven cognitive mode that we have. 7 cognitive mode. Okay, we have the wrong conception, a wrong mind. You see, you have the doubt. You have the awareness to which an object appears but is not as certain. Then you have the mere supposition. Then you have the inferential valid cognition. Then you have the direct perception. Then you have the yogic direct perception. Anyway, so here what I'm talking about here, what I'm interested in is the correct supposition. So you see, you come to the teachings, or you read the book, and then it is appealing to your mind. And then you accept it. So you accept it. Or you can eventually, you see, contemplate a little bit, familiarize a little bit yourself, you know, with this idea. But that remain at the level of the mere supposition. So this is a non-cognition, and being a non-cognition, that mind does not realize its object by its own power. You just rely on the word of others. You see, the word of others. So that mind is not incontrovertible with respect to the object of engagement. It's not incontrovertible. Therefore, that mind is not able to eliminate superimposition. That mind is not able to overcome its own discordant class, to eliminate doubt, for example. So, and this is a very dangerous for us, Buddhist practitioner, because for most of the Lamrim, you see, we know we're all familiar maybe with the Lamrim contemplation. We only remain at the level of a mere supposition, only there. And this is why our mind, see, doesn't go on. This is why there is no deep changing in us, because we never move to the valid cognition, where the mind realizes the object by its own power, based on reasoning, for example, based on own reasoning. So this is why I'm always, and this is, I'm not saying this is good, you do that at the beginning, but you see, you have to be careful with for example, the guided meditation. You have to be careful, because while doing the guided meditation, there is only one person meditating, is the one guiding the meditation. The other one, they're just listening. So the other, they remain at the level, they will remain, you see, like this, at the level of the mere supposition, but the actual person leading the meditation is actually using his own mind and his own reasoning. So this is why it is, at the beginning is okay, you see, but very quickly you have to sever this umbilical cord, you see, to the guided meditation, because otherwise people, they will become, dependent on this. And I can see in Dharma Center sometimes, like 15 years after, you see, 20 years after, they still ask for guided meditation. That's not normal. That's not normal. For example, I mean, I've never had guided meditation. This is something that does not exist. You see, guided meditation in our tradition. It is something made up by the Westerners, the guided meditation. So usually, you see, I mean, when sometimes we had retreat with my teacher, and he was just explaining the meditation at the beginning, and then after finished, everybody's silent for 45 minutes. That's the type of guided meditation, where you have to use your own mind. You see, you have to work yourself with the material, and then of course at the beginning it is dry. This is completely normal. At the beginning it is dry, but then you work on it, and then slowly, you see, you go inside, and your mind generates clarity. Your mind generates, you see, understanding. It takes time. Our problem is that we want everything, you see, quickly, but with the mind, nothing comes quickly. Everything, we have to. Once you enter, this path, where you want to work on your mind, you have to have a vision as long term. And but what I mean by long term, I mean 10, 20 years. You see. So you try to meditate and reflect and try to change your mind for 10, 20, 30, even the Dalai Lama said 30 years, you see, and then after you can look behind, and then you can see little changes. And those little changes, you see, they're already fantastic. So I don't know why I said that, just sometimes, yeah. Anyway, is there any other questions before we move on?
Yeah, there are two questions. So the first one is the clear light mind. Is it also empty, or it is self-existing and independent?
Okay, so we have to be clear. If something exists, it is necessarily empty of inherent existence. Something that exists by way of its own nature cannot be observed in the universe, cannot be observed by valid cognition. You see, this is impossible. Simply because something that exists necessarily comes out of causes and condition. And if it comes out of causes and condition, it is not established by way of its own nature, i.e., it is not established inherently. Therefore, it is clear that everything that exists can only exist because it is inherently existent. You see, this is our last session. You see, I want to keep space in our last session. Don't remember when it is, to speak a bit about this dependent arising and emptiness, you see, because we have to understand that the meaning of emptiness resides into the meaning of dependent arising, and the meaning of dependent arising resides into the meaning of emptiness. So we have to come to that understanding. So in this way, you see, so I repeat, if something is an existence, and we have to define existence, what is the definition of an existence? It is something that is observed by a valid cognition. You see, a valid cognition, it is the incontrovertible knower. Incontrovertible knower. So if it exists, it is posited by valid cognition, and it is necessarily empty of inherent existence. Necessarily. We have solved the, I don't say the doubt, but at least the question problem. Yeah, finished? Okay. So now in terms of, we have mentioned, I mentioned before when I talk about the mental afflictions, the 10 mental afflictions, the 10 roots mental afflictions, or the 6, and inside of the 6th one, which is the afflicted view, we have one very important, it's called the view of the transitory collection. So in the system of Chandrakirti, the view of the transitory collection is the source of samsara. It is the root of samsara, cyclic existence. In Nagarjuna's system, the root of cyclic existence, it is posited as the conception of true existence of phenomena. There is no difference. You see, it's kind of weird. Maybe you think that, well, wait, because here Chandrakirti said that's the root of the root is the transitory collection, and Nagarjuna said that the root is the conception of the self of phenomena, but actually it means the same. So what is the view of the transitory collection? It is an afflicted wisdom that observe the mere I or the mere mind is one owns continuum and conceive it to be inherently existent. You see, so it is the mind that observe the conventionally existent I and reified it, conceive it to be inherently existent. So you see, this afflicted wisdom, this view of the transitory collection, has to observe something. It has to, because we are talking, because this is the conception of the self of person, conception of the self of person, and by conception of the self of person, I mean the conception of a truly existent person. That mind has to observe the person. That mind has to observe the person which is actually existent. So the mere I, the mere I, the conventionally existent person, it is the observed object of the view of the transitory collection, and it is conceived as being inherently existent. Yeah. So this is what Chandrakirti posits as the root of cyclic existence. Nagarjuna, he posits the conception of the self of phenomena, the conception of the true existence of phenomena. So it seems to be different. One is the conception of phenomena, one is the conception of the self included in one's own continuum. But actually, they are not different because it is the same type of ignorance. It is a conception of true existence, one on the base of phenomena and one on the base of the person. And actually, not only it is the same type of ignorance, but it is the same continuum of ignorance. Why? Because before reifying, you see, the person, you have to reify phenomena. So before the conception of the self of person to arise, there must be the conception of the self of phenomena. And by phenomena, in this context, I mean the constituent of the person. You see, what we call the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates are the constituent of the person. They are the form aggregates, the feeling aggregate, discrimination aggregate, compositional factor aggregate, and the consciousness aggregate. So basically, to make it brief, you see, you have the form and the mind. The first one is the form and the body, okay? with all the characteristics of the body. You see, its shape, its color, its sound, its smell. All of this is a form aggregate. And then you have the mind. And the mind has been, you see, presented in terms of four aggregates, because they are primordial. Those four aspects, you see, of the mind, they are primordial in terms of the arising of the conception of self, of the idea of a self. For example, mostly you develop a sense of self in terms of your body. Okay, clearly you see your body in the mirror, and you say, okay, oh, I'm beautiful, or I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or I'm whatever. Okay, so you see, and then there is the feeling. Feeling is very important also, because based on the feeling that exists in the continuum of the mind, you see, so you understand that feeling, it is just a dependent arising as well. You see, there is the meeting with an object, and then the feeling arises. And based on the feeling, there is the thought, I am happy, or I am sad, or nothing. Yeah, it's a neutral feeling. So feeling is very important. And then we have the others, discrimination, which is the ability to recognize a sign, uncommon sign from the side of the object. Because you recognize sign, you have for example, you say that you think, oh, this is a computer, or this is a table. Then there is a notion that is an I, a self recognizing things, you see. And then there is the compositional factor. The compositional factor are all the other 49 mental factors, aside feeling and discrimination, which are also mental factor, but they have been isolated to underline their importance. So the compositional factor is the other 49 mental factors. And then you have the aggregate of consciousness, 6 consciousness, clearly, because also the sense of self arise in dependence on the consciousness. For example, there is a color blue, there is the eye sense power, and there is immediate condition. And then all the 3 gather together, and then there is an instant of a direct perceiver, eye sense direct perceiver that realize the blue color, and then you think, I see the blue. Okay? So you see the sense of I arise due to these 5 aggregate. They are called the constituent of the person. Okay? The constituent of the person. So basically, body and mind. Okay? So for the conception of a self to arise, first, there must be a conception of those 5 aggregates with body and mind as being conceived to be inherently existent, truly existent. And then, you see, the I, which is imputed, which arise, the I which arise in dependence on those 5 aggregates, is then ceased to be inherently existent. So this is why there is no contradiction between the Nagarjuna system and the Chandrakirti system, one positing the conception of the self of phenomena as being the root of cyclic existence, another one positing the conception of the self, including one's own continuum as being the root of cyclic existence, because they are the same ignorance, and there are instant of preceding and successive ignorance. You see, you have first the conception of true existence of phenomena, for example, your body and mind, and then they are followed by the conception of the truly existent self. So it is the preceding and successive instant of ignorance. So just to emphasize certain aspect, then Chandrakirti said it is the view of the transcendental recollection, and Nagarjuna said it is the conception of phenomena, but actually it's the same. So there is no difference in terms of subtlety in terms of the conception of true existence of phenomena and the conception of true existence of person. It is the same type of ignorance. The object of the mode of apprehension is the same. I mean, not exactly the same, but let's say the referent object, okay, which is the inert existence. Inert existence is the same. One, it's conceived on the base of phenomena, and on the other, it's conceived on the base of the person. but it is the same type of ignorance. One is not subtler than the other. Okay, this is a particularity of the Prasangika system, where the conception of a self of phenomena and the conception of the self of person are equal in terms of subtlety, and they are presented as the afflictive obscuration, which, i.e., an obstacle to liberation. In the other system, the Madhyamika, Svatantrika, the Chittamatra, okay, there is a difference. There's a difference in terms of subtlety in their system between the conception of a self of person and the conception of a self of phenomena. And the conception of self of person is presented as an afflictive obstruction, and the conception of the self of phenomena as the cognitive obstruction, obstacles to omniscience. So in terms of the Prasangika, it is not like this. So when we try to understand, you see, the selflessness of person, the emptiness, we start on the basis of the person, because somehow we have more intimacy with this idea of inert existence. And so somehow it is easier to recognize, and also because it is somehow easier to understand that the person is a dependent phenomena. It is easier to understand that the person is a dependent phenomena than to understand, for example, that the form aggregate is a dependent phenomena. You see how it is. For the person, you see, for the person to appear to your mind, you need to see something which is not the person. You need to see the form aggregate. So the form aggregate of the person has to appear to your mind for you to conceive, you see, the idea of a person. So this is the proof, you see, this is already give you a hint in terms of the understanding that the person is dependent on the aggregate, because you need the perception of the aggregate to have the perception of the person. So what is very important, you see, at the beginning, it is to recognize this object of negation. So to recognize this subject of negation, if you cannot do it at the time, you see, when you are emotionally involved implicated into a situation, because it's difficult to have this distance, you see, it takes training to have this distance, then you do it when you go back home. So when you go back home, you see, you sit comfortably, and then you imagine yourself, you re-visualize yourself, you see, you reimagine yourself into that very situation. So that's the way you do it. You imagine yourself into this situation that you have gone through. It is something that you have experienced. It's not some situation that you imagine. See, it is something that you have experienced, where you had like a strong desire or strong attachment for someone, or a strong aversion for someone or for something, of when you've been, treated badly, really badly, was unfair, really unfair, or you've been strongly criticized or insulted. You see, you've been or when you are very depressed, for example, also when you're very depressed. So you have to re-visualize yourself into this situation. And with one portion of your mind, you just observe how, at the non-analytical level, you see, spontaneously, or the person, use your name, you have to use your name, or the person appears. You see, for example, you see, you've been taking care, you've been very kind to someone, you have helped that person a lot, you see. And then when you need something, or that person, you see, doesn't want to hear anything about you, or treated you badly, you see. So you see that, to me, you say this after everything that I've done for you. You see, there's this, at that time, you see, there is this I that appears self-established. Self-established means something that it exists by way of its own power.
It is, yes, self-established. It exists by way of its own power. So you have to crystallize that appearance to your mind. That's the object of negation. That's the object of negation. So this I, that is different from body and mind. At the coarser level, because there is several levels of subtlety, at the coarse level, it appears different from body and mind. So you have to crystallize this one, this I, and then after you, so you have to do that for quite some time, see? And you have to be conceived, you have to be sure, you have to be clear that you actually exist, like it makes sense. Of course there is an I. You see, you even push it. Of course there is an I. How can it be? How can it be different? So this I, this inherently existent, a self, think about this word, this expression, self-established. Self-established, you see, exists by way of its own power. It has the ability to set itself up. Does not depend on the body and mind. In particular, it does not depend on the mind, on the consciousness to exist. Of course not. It exists by way of its own power. It is there. It is there. There is an I. There is a person. Okay. So that's the object of negation. That's ignorance working very well there. Yeah? So then after, you have to establish the perversion. You establish the perversion. So think, okay, so you need not to lose this image from your mind. That's very important. Try to keep, you see, this picture of the object of negation, because that's what you are going to look for. That's what you're going to look for. You're not looking for the person. You are looking for the inherently existent person. That's very different. The person exists. The person exists. It is the observed object of the view of the transitory collection. It is what is reified by the ignorance. So what you're interested in is not the conventionally existent person, is the inherently existent person which is reified by ignorance. This is what we are trying to eliminate here, not the person. So you need to have this clear, and then after you think, so the second step is, if I exist in this way, you see, if I exist in the way that actually appears right now, then there is only two possibilities. Or I am same with my constituent, you see, I am the same with my constituent, or I am different from my constituent. So in a sense, the I is the same as its constituent, or is something different from the constituent. And you have to be sure that there is no third possibility. Logically, you have to, this is something very logical, okay? If you have two phenomena, so okay, all those two phenomena are identical or they are different. So you have to be sure. And and then you start after with the first position. The first position is to look for the inherently existent I inside of the constituent. And there you have two subdivisions. One is to look the person inside of the particular aggregate, the particular constituent. So you will try to remember this I that appears, you know, when you criticize, when you're very angry, you know, and is this I same as the body? Is this I same as the body? And then you look inside your body, okay? Is the eye this? Is the eye the skin? Is the eye the bone? Is the eye the lung, the heart, the stomach, the brain? Maybe you think that the eye is the brain. Okay, if the eye is the brain, what side of the brain? You see, the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere? What kind of atom of carbon? You see, atom of carbon atom is the eye. You have to break everything down to the subatomic level. You see? And you have to realize there is no inherently the I cannot be found into the body. And you abide there. Then again, you recall what you're looking for. And this time you look into your mind. You look into your mind. Okay. So the mind, what is the mind? The mind is the visual consciousness, the olfactory consciousness, the auditory consciousness, the gustatory consciousness, the tactile consciousness, and the mental consciousness. What is the I there? The I is the sense consciousness. The I cannot be a sense consciousness because when there is not the object, okay, there is no such a sense consciousness. The particular sense consciousness depend on the arisal of a particular object to arise. So it cannot be there, cannot be that. So maybe you're going to think that the I is the mental consciousness. Oh, these things that you have found it. You see, when you're there, you think that you have found it. So if you look at the mental consciousness, you know, in the finger snap, the consciousness is an impermanent phenomena. Is produced and destroyed. You see, it's a momentary phenomena. So it's produced and destroyed instant by instant. So which instant of the mental consciousness is the I? Even the present moment of consciousness, it is something completely evanescent. You cannot even pinpoint a present state of mind. As soon as you think about it, it's already gone. So you see, you arrive to the conclusion that the person is also not findable in the mind. So maybe you have the second supposition is to think that the I is the combination, the collection of body and mind, or the collection of the 5 aggregates. See? So there you have to use reasoning there. See? So individually, they are only part of the I, part of the person. You see, my body, my mind, they are parts of the person. Individually, they are parts of the person. Collectively, they remain parts of the person. They do not change into a different phenomena. It's not that because you put them together, you apply some kind of a cosmic glue and it becomes something else. Okay? If individually the phenomena are not the person, then collectively they cannot be the person. For example, on my table here, I have no elephant. Okay, I have no elephant. I have like different phenomena which are not elephant. You see, I have pages. So this is not an elephant. I have a pen. This is not an elephant. I have a mala. Okay, this is not an elephant. I put them together. They are a collection of non-elephant. Individually, they are not elephant. Together, they are not elephants. So you see, the body down to the smallest atom is not the I. The mind down to the smallest instant of consciousness is not the I. If you put them together, they're still not the I. You have to be very clear with it. You have to analyze. You see, you have to analyze. Also, you can approach things from a different way. You can think, you see, that since the I is the appropriator, what is appropriated cannot be the I. Okay? So the appropriator are the body and mind. You see, my body, my mind. This is already a proof that the I is something different from the body and mind. That the body and mind together, they cannot be the person. Because I have this conception of being the owner, the appropriator of my constituent. So if I am the appropriator, if the constituent are what is appropriated, they cannot be the appropriator. For example, Nagarjuna explained in the Treaty of the Middle Way. See, he said that there is the fire. The fire is the agent. The wood is the object, and the action is burning. So the object is the support of the action of burning by the agent fire. So you see, you have 3 components there. You have the agent, the action, and the support of the action, the object. So in terms of the self and the aggregate, is the same. You have an agent, I, then action, which is the appropriation, and you have the basis, which is the support of the action, which are the aggregates, which are possessed. Okay? So if you say that the appropriator, that the person is the same as the aggregate, then you will have to say that the fire is the same as the wood. Or even coarser, we can do even more absurd. We say, I'm eating pizza, okay? So the I, the person, as the action, eating, and the support of the action is pizza. So if you say, you see clearly there's three different things there going on. If you say that the I is the same as the component, the aggregate, then you will have to say that I'm the same as the pizza. Same logic. Cannot work. You have to think. Yeah? You have to think about those things. And so, and then finally, then the second position which is left is to try to understand, try to see if the I is something different from the body and mind. So you see, you have just realized that the I is not the body, that the I is not the mind, that the I is also, it cannot be the body and mind together. So what's left? You see, you remember that I there, that's particular mode of appearance. What's left is that the I is something different from body and mind. So what you do mentally, you eliminate the discrimination of the body. You see, you know the attribute of the body, the attribute of the form aggregate, you eliminate them, and then you eliminate all the mental events, you see, and then there's something that should be left is the I. The I should be left. But what you find, nothing. And then at that time, you have realized the selflessness of person. You see? So what is the selflessness of person is to contemplate the unfindability, the analytical unfindability of the conceived object by the conception of true existence. So there, you're meditating on emptiness. Just before it's not meditation on emptiness. It's just the reasoning for the concept of emptiness to arise. And when you have succeeded in producing, you see, in generating this understanding of non-inherent existence of the I, then you're meditating on emptiness. That's the meditation on emptiness. That's the object emptiness. Before, it's just the reasoning for to help you to generate this concept of non-inherent existence. Okay, so you can. I mean, I distributed some kind of guidelines, and so you have your notes. So you put this together during this week. You try to chew that. So you have to cook it. You have to cook it. You know, you're making cooking. Slow like the fire is very slow, slow fire. And then next week we will go on into I have some couple of technical things to go with you still. We have to clarify this view of the transitory collection. There is a lot of discussion about this. Then we have to see after in detail the different level of conception of self. And then after we'll go into the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti, which is like the four steps that I send you, that I explained you, but with three more. So it's just more complete. Okay. And then after, at the end, if we still have time, we'll do the dependent arising. Okay. We have to verify everything by the reasoning of dependent arising. So that's it. One question, maybe.
Okay, so there are two questions, but I'll just say this one. What does Buddha see? Conventional and ultimate truth, or at the same time, or just only the ultimate truth?
He sees the two truths simultaneously. So since it was very fast, maybe the second question as well.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, when I try to find this object of negation, when I create these memories helping to find or to hurt my ego, I have some feeling in the area of solar plexus, like something is contracting there. So is it a strong attachment to my body? I had a similar sensation when I did some extreme activities connecting with flying and jumping, like parachuting. So what is it?
Okay, so maybe you're a bit too tight when you do your meditation. You're a bit too tight. Therefore, all the winds, you see, they gather here, and you experience, you see, this tightness here. So anyway, what you're looking for is not a feeling. That the object of negation is not a feeling. Okay, it is a meaning generality of a truly existent self. It is a meaning generality. What is the meaning generality? It is the factor of appearance that exists inside of a conceptual mind. See, for example, if I describe you La Tour Eiffel, okay, then probably you've seen it, you know, or whatever. Maybe you came to Paris or you've seen it on TV. You see, when you think about when the conceptual mind produce this idea of the Tour Eiffel, there is an appearance that appears to the mind. That's the meaning generality. It is the same with the self. The mind, the conceptual mind, and thinks about La Tour Eiffel, okay, is the conceptual mind, and what appears to the mind is not La Tour Eiffel, is the meaning generality of La Tour Eiffel. The meaning generality. This is the factor of appearance connected to this conceptual mind. So this is what you have to look for when you look for a truly existent I. The conception of true existent, as the name, you see, conception is the conceptual mind, therefore it has a meaning generality. So that's what has to be identified, is the meaning generality of a truly existent person. Of course, it is accompanied with the feeling, because being a mind, the feeling is an omnipresent mental factor. So of course, any mind has a feeling, but you should not focus on the feeling. You should try to gain an idea, see, a clear appearance of the truly existent I. You see, think about this. It has the appearance of it set itself up, self-established, self itself up, right there from the start. You see, from the start, self itself, it set itself up. Okay, that's the type of feeling the type of appearance that you have to recognize. It takes a lot of time. It's difficult. So you have to think with, to be satisfied with coarse. You see, this coarse idea of this coarse appearance of a self, which is different from body and mind. You see, that's go into that direction. You see, a sense, an appearance of a self, which is different from body and mind. To start, it's good to start like this. Okay, but definitely do not focus on feeling or a sense of tightness here. If you have to be relaxed. See, when you do that, you have to be relaxed, because if you're not relaxed, then you have those tightness, and then they disturb what you're supposed to be doing. So meditation is something, you see, it's not easy, but with familiarity, everything becomes easier. So you have to dose. You see, it's like you have to monitor it. You have slowly to learn how to monitor your mind when you do these kind of things. It takes experience. See, it takes trainings. More than experience, takes trainings. So you do it, and then slowly you get better at it. It's like everything. Basically, it's like everything. Okay. We're gonna stop here. We do the dedication. Gewadi nyodo da lama sangye drugyu ne drawa jingya maloba deye sadangova jo janju zamjo remboje maye banan geju nyama neba yang gone gundu galwa. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and have a good week. And see you next week, if you wish. Okay.